Okay, let's dive into some source material a listener shared with us today. We've got the Amazon product page for a book titled $100 Viewer Offers Summary and Workbook.
Ah, yes, the one by Alex Hormozi. How to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no.
That's the one. Quite the title, isn't it?
It definitely sets a high bar, promises something pretty impactful.
It really does. And our mission here, well, our goal for this deep dive is to kind of peel back the layers on this source,
Right.
extract the core ideas, the insights presented, and really figure out what this book claims to be about.
And who it's for, presumably.
Exactly. Who it's aimed at and what it says you'll learn about crafting these business offers that supposedly get that reaction. You know, feeling stupid, saying no.
Well, based on the source, it's pitched as a focus summary and a workbook companion to his original 100 Me of Offers book.
Okay.
And the central promise, like you said, it's mastering this ability to structure offers that are just so compelling.
So compelling they feel they have to say yes.
Pretty much. And the author, Alex Hormozi, he makes some seriously big claims right there on the page.
Yeah.
Doesn't waste any time.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
He states he personally used this method to generate, get this, over $120 million.
Wow. $120 million.
Yeah, across 4 distinct industries: service, e-commerce, software, and even brick and mortar, all apparently within a 48-month period.
4 years. That's significant.
And what's really striking about that claim, the way it's presented in the source, is that he specifically says this success,
Uh-huh.
including going from losing money to making like $36 for every dollar spent.
Mm.
It wasn't down to great funnels or amazing ads.
Which is what most people focus on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He attributes it primarily to this specific ability to create these kinds of offers. It positions the offer itself as the absolute foundation.
That's a fundamental shift, really, because so many businesses, they pour money into traffic, into ad creative.
Right. This suggests maybe they're focusing on the wrong thing, or at least not the first thing.
Okay, so let's unpack how the source actually describes this method. We can go through the key sections the book apparently covers.
Sounds good. The first major theme presented is how to charge a lot more than you currently are.
Right off the bat, challenging that common idea that higher prices just mean fewer customers.
Totally. It tackles that head on.
So the source lists a few concepts under this. There's something called the tiny market, big money process. What's the gist of that based on the source?
Well, the implication seems to be about laser focusing on who you're selling to. It's like, find these niche markets where people actually have money and a pressing need.
Instead of casting a wide net.
Precisely. Don't try to appeal broadly. The claim is if you target a specific affluent micromarket, you can justify higher pricing right from the start.
Okay, so find the right pawn first. Makes sense. Then it mentions the unfair pricing formula.
Yeah, and the claim there is pretty bold. On 100x your pricing and get more people to say yes.
100x? How does the source even hint that's possible? Seems, unfair.
Huh. Yeah, the name fits. The source doesn't give the exact math, obviously, but the term unfair, paired with getting more yeses.
Right.
It suggests the formula isn't just about adding zeros. It's probably framed around making the value delivered so disproportionately huge compared to the price
Oh.
that the price feels almost unfairly low to the buyer. It's about flipping the perception, not just a simple markup.
Okay, that connects to the next thing mentioned, the value flip. It specifically says it's a way to avoid price comparison.
Exactly. If your offer delivers value that's just way beyond what the market usually offers, prospects stop comparing your price tag directly to a competitor's.
You're changing the conversation.
Yeah, you flip the focus. It's not price is cost anymore, it's price is investment for this massive return they're going to get.
Right, right. And the last bit for this section, the virtuous cycle of price. What's the core idea there from the source?
It suggests that charging significantly more gives you much healthier profit margins,
Yeah.
right? And those higher margins, you can reinvest them. Maybe you outspend competitors on ads to reach more of that niche market you found.
Or improve the product.
Or improve the product, attract better talent to deliver the service, which in turn justifies the higher price, or even lets you increase it further, creating even more value. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Fueled by premium pricing.
Exactly. Higher margins basically fuel growth and constant improvement.
That makes a lot of strategic sense. Okay, so we've got pricing strategy covered. The source then outlines a section called How to Make Your Products So Good Prospects Find a Way to Pay for It.
Right. So now we're shifting from the price to the actual thing you're selling, the core offering.
This is about the substance then.
Yeah, the mechanism of value creation and delivery. It starts with something called the unbeatable value equation.
Okay, what's that about?
The source describes it as making what you sell inherently worth more than prospects have ever received from anything similar before. Like, fundamentally better.
So it's not just saying it's high value, it's actually building that extreme value into the product or service itself?
Precisely. It's the substance that has to back up the price tag. Then the source mentions the delivery cube.
Delivery cube. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it describes it as figuring out how to make the process of delivering your product or service cost less for you operationally,
Okay, efficiency.
while simultaneously providing more convenience or perceived value for the customer. So optimizing the logistics of getting the result to the client.
So you save money, they get a better experience. Win-win.
That seems to be the idea. And then there's the trim and stack hack.
Yeah.
The source uses a really specific example here.
Oh, yeah.
It says, Hormozi made $17 million profit on $28 million revenue in just 1 year when he was 28 using this.
17 million profit on 28 mil revenue. That's a huge margin. What does the source imply this hack actually is?
That number definitely makes you stop and read, right?
For sure.
The source notes it's a technique for maximizing profit, specifically through certain delivery methods. It doesn't spell out the hack itself.
Right.
But the context, the value equation in the delivery cube suggests it's about strategically packaging or structuring how that value is given to the customer.
So the how matters as much as the what.
Yeah, in a way that's incredibly efficient for the business, leading to those kinds of profit margins.
Wow. Okay, if those claims from the source are accurate, that profit figure is powerful evidence for optimizing value delivery.
It certainly presents it that way.
Okay, so we've covered pricing strategy, building that core intrinsic value. The third major section is how to enhance your offer so much prospects buy without hesitating.
Right. This sounds like adding layers, sort of sweeteners, onto the core product or service.
Yeah, moving into the presentation, the structuring of the whole offer package to just overcome that natural buyer inertia or hesitation.
Exactly. And it lists techniques like the scarcity stack, apparently using 3 types of ethical scarcity.
Ethical scarcity, they emphasize ethical.
Yeah, the source does. Suggesting it's about, genuine limitations like limited spots, real deadlines, not just making stuff up to create pressure.
Okay, leveraging real constraints. And the everyday urgency blueprint sounds kind of related. Using real life to create ethical time pressure.
Seems like it. Probably about tapping into natural cycles, maybe seasonal things, events, changing circumstances that create a genuine reason for someone to act now versus just putting it off.
Rather than sale ends Friday for no real reason.
Right. Then the source mentions unbeatable bonuses. And it describes these as specifically designed to just melt away any hesitations prospects might still have.
So the bonuses aren't just random extras. They're strategic tools aimed at dismantling specific objections people might have.
That's definitely the implication. And then what the source calls God mode guarantees.
God mode. Seriously.
Yeah, that's the term used. It claims these are guarantees so good they make anyone say yes. The source even mentions stacking and layering 4 different types of guarantees.
So are types.
And provides 13 specific swipe file examples. So this seems like a very tactical, practical part of the method.
God mode guarantees backed by actual examples in the source. That's bold. Okay, and finally, this section mentions a magic naming formula.
Right. This just highlights that even what you call your offer or the parts of your offer actually matters.
The language itself.
Yeah. The source claims using this specific formula can lead to higher response rates, better conversion rates, suggesting the psychology of how you phrase things plays a big role.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then, based on these sections described in the source. It sounds like the method starts with finding these high-value niche markets,
Right.
then building a product or service with genuinely high, inherent value that you can deliver efficiently, pricing it strategically, using maybe that unfair formula.
Or the virtuous cycle idea.
Yeah, and then layering on enhancements, ethical scarcity, real urgency, targeted bonuses, those God mode guarantees, and wrapping it all up with effective naming.
That seems to be the framework the source presents, yeah. It's quite comprehensive.
And the source kind of grounds all this by reminding us of the author's background again, right? Alex Hormozi, the entrepreneur, investor.
Managing partner at acquisition.com, portfolio doing over $200 annually as of 2024, apparently. And it mentions his earlier success with licensing a gym model and selling a stake in that.
So his big claims, like the $120 million in 4 years, are directly tied back in the source to him using these specific techniques that are outlined in the book's contents list.
Right. It connects the method to the claimed results.
Hmm.
The source also mentions he and his wife focus on making business education accessible.
Which positions this workbook as part of that broader mission.
Yeah, it gives it that context.
Mm.
Grounds the claims in his claim track record and purpose.
Okay, now let's shift gears slightly and look specifically at what the source, the Amazon page itself, says about this particular workbook. Not just the method, but the product.
Right. The customer reviews are obviously a big part of that source data,
Mm.
and the average rating is really high.
What was it?
4.9 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
From 196 ratings at the time the source was captured. That's very positive.
4.9 is impressive. And the AI summaries or specific comments, what do they highlight?
Well, there are clear themes.
Mm.
People consistently say the content is helpful, it's practical, lots of mentions of the exercises being useful for actually working through the concepts.
Okay, so it functions well as a workbook.
Seems so. We see quotes like, amazing stuff, best book on business strategy. People seem to perceive the actual material as high quality.
So it's not just reading, it's applying. That seems key.
Exactly. And another huge theme is value for money.
Ah.
Multiple reviews use phrases like insane value or just repeat value, value, value. They clearly see it as a really worthwhile investment, especially for business owners looking for practical steps.
Well, if it helps you implement strategies that claim those kinds of results, even a fraction, I can see why they'd say insane value at a typical book price point.
Makes sense. And another strong positive is the ease of application. Reviews say things like, it walks you through applying each one. The steps make sense. It allows for fast implementation. One person specifically mentioned the interactive pieces help them multiply their business.
That speaks directly to the workbook format working for people. It sounds like overwhelmingly positive feedback on its usefulness.
It really does. But, it's important to note, the source also includes one specific, quite pointed criticism among all those positive reviews.
Oh, really? A negative one?
Yeah, from a reviewer apparently in Australia.
And what was their take?
They called this workbook a poor, bastardized version of the original book.
Wow, strong words. Why?
Their main complaints were that the exercises they expected in the workbook actually required a separate download, a PDF.
Ah, okay. Not integrated.
Right. And they basically recommended just reading the original 100 email offers book or taking the free companion course Hormozi offers on acquisition.com instead of buying this workbook.
That's a significant dissenting voice then, a very different perspective from the others.
It is. It suggests that for at least that reader, this specific format or maybe the content structure didn't live up to what they expected compared to the author's other material.
So it kind of raises a point for listeners to consider, is this workbook best as a standalone thing or maybe more as a companion to the main book or course, depending on how you learn?
Yeah, it highlights that potential comparison point. What's the best way to engage with these ideas?
Okay, so bringing this all back to you, the listener, the source material, this Amazon page, presents the $100 ever offer summary and workbook as this practical tool.
Right, based on a system that claims it can help you fundamentally change how you structure and present when your business offers.
With the ultimate goal being to make those offers so compelling that prospects are just much more likely to respond, much more likely to say yes.
Even potentially to prices that might seem breathtaking at first glance because the perceived value you've built is just so incredibly high.
It's really about that shift we talked about, getting away from being seen as a commodity where people just compare you on price and moving towards being clearly differentiated because of the offer structure, the value, the guarantees, all that stuff, like one reviewer mentioned.
And the framework outlined in the source claims to give you the steps to actually make that shift happen.
Right. So to wrap up this deep dive then, the source material for this $100 Miram offer summary and workbook details a pretty multifaceted system.
Yeah, broken down into those 3 core areas: pricing strategy, building that inherent product or service value, and then enhancing the offer presentation.
All designed to drastically boost the perceived value and, crucially, the acceptance of your business offerings.
And this system, according to the source, is presented as the engine behind the author's own significant claimed business success.
While the workbook itself gets mostly rave reviews in the source for being practical, valuable, easy to use.
Though we do have that one notable counterpoint suggesting the original book or course might be preferred by some, depending on what they're looking for.
But overall, it's a system that really puts the offer itself, the construction of the offer, front and center. Like, that's the main lever for growth.
It absolutely is, which leads to a final thought, perhaps.
Yeah.
Considering that core claim creating offer so good people feel stupid saying no, How might really truly focusing on structuring value, the pricing, the bonuses, those God mode guarantees,
Yeah.
how might that fundamentally change the game in your specific market or industry?
What could the potential benefits be, but maybe also the ethical considerations of making your offer feel that irresistible? Something to think about.